Hey guys, I am the Comics Kid 2099 and I am here to talk to you a little bit about a graphic novel that I bought a few weeks ago. This is Superman Tarzan, Sons of the Jungle. This is written by Chuck Dixon and drawn by Carlos Miguela. I'm very probably mispronouncing that, so I'll let you look at his name and judge for yourself how to pronounce that. I got this book because I am in a Superman mood. I have been in a kind of on again, off again Superman mood ever since the Man of Steel movie came out, so I've been trying to read some Superman books. And I saw this, it was cheap, so I bought it thinking, hey, this is going to be pretty fun and enjoyable. And also, it is an Elseworld story, and basically, if you don't know what that is, it's basically you take an existing DC Comics character and you change the scenario of their existence so that you can have a wildly different story. For example, there was Batman Gotham by Gaslight, which was basically the same Batman that we know and love, but instead of being in Gotham City in the present day, he's in Gotham City in the late 1800s tracking down Jack the Ripper. So this story tells the story of John Greystoke, who would have become Tarzan, but instead, in this timeline, he does not grow up in the jungle. His parents do not die. He's not an orphan. He has a normal existence in England, but he grows up feeling very incomplete, like he doesn't know what he's supposed to do, but he knows that what he is doing is not what he needs to do. Meanwhile, you've got Kal-El, who his spaceship crashes in the jungle where in the normal Tarzan story, Lord Greystoke would have become Tarzan. And so Kal-El essentially becomes Tarzan. He is raised by this tribe of apes, and then hilarity ensues. My number one complaint about this book is that it is too short, way too short. It's only 3 issues long, and throughout the entire thing, I keep feeling like I am missing huge chunks of story. Not really story, but just where we see a character, and then the very next time we see them, I feel like it's months or even years later, and I feel like the story just needed to slow down a little bit so that I could get a better grasp of who all of these characters are, because I never at any point feel comfortable in the world of Tarzan. I should mention, even though this is a Superman Tarzan book, it really feels more like 80% Tarzan and 20% Superman. Even though Superman, Kal-El, is in the book much more than John Clayton, Lord Greystoke, I still feel like everything in this book is much more centered around the Tarzan mythos than it is the Superman mythos. And that's not good for me because I know very little about Tarzan. Just the basics that everyone knows, that he was born and raised in a jungle by ape people. And that's about all I know. So I don't feel like this book ever makes me feel comfortable with the Tarzan stories and the characters. I never come to understand any of these characters. There's one ape who, for about 90% of the story, I'm convinced that he's a bad guy, and then out of nowhere, he starts helping the good guys. And I can kind of sort of see why he's doing that, but at the same time, I really wish that this story had been longer and a little bit more involved so that I could have seen the progression of his character and the progression of some of the other characters. Along these same lines, I really don't get the sense that the timeline is very well established in this book, and I'm not even sure if the creators of this story really understand the timeline. We see baby Kal-El crash in the jungle, and then a few months later we see baby Tarzan, or as he would have been Tarzan, but he's not Tarzan in this story. He's born off in London or England or whatever, and then the very next thing we see is adult Kal-El in the jungle. And then we see that Lord Greystoke is in school, and then the next thing we see, he's in the American Wild West, and then the next thing we see, he is financing a scientific expedition into Africa, and I just feel like all of this stuff with Lord Greystoke, it seems like that could have been years and years of his life, but meanwhile, it seems like only a few weeks have happened in the jungle, where nothing really has passed for Kal-El. He's still basically the same up until about 4 pages before the very end of the story, And throughout the entire book, nothing's really changed for him, but we see a great deal of time has passed for Lord Greystoke. And again, I feel like this wouldn't have been as much of a problem if this could have been longer. I really wish that this could have been maybe a 6-issue miniseries instead of a 3-issue miniseries. This would have helped me become more familiar with the characters that are exclusive to the Tarzan mythos that show up in this story. And also, I think it wouldn't have felt as forced when you're trying to introduce other characters like Lois Lane and Jane from Tarzan, and then you're kind of getting these characters in there in a little bit more of a natural way instead of just trying to shoehorn them in there because the story is almost over because you don't really have any room to tell the story in the first place. Overall, I wasn't especially impressed with this book. I feel like a lot of this could have been a lot better than what it was because I really do feel like Chuck Dixon is a very competent writer. I just don't feel like he had a lot of room to tell the kind of story that he wanted to tell or the kind of story that I would have rather read. I think a big problem with this book is that it is mostly a Tarzan book, and I myself, I am not familiar with Tarzan enough to just jump in and really understand a Tarzan story. I am much more of a Superman fan, and I bought this because I was in a Superman mood, and I ultimately did not get a whole lot of Superman here. I got Superman's spaceship talking to Superman, and that's about it. If you are wanting this for Superman, I'm going to say go ahead and pass. Or if you know somebody who owns this or you see it at the library, read it for free, but don't pay money for this, unfortunately. If you are a fan of Tarzan, then you know more about the character than I do, and maybe you've already read this, but you would probably get more of a kick out of this if you like Tarzan than I did. That's all I have to say about this book. I hope this video was informative and helpful for you. If it was, I hope you will like, share, comment, and subscribe. I hope you will come back tomorrow where I tackle a different subject in tomorrow's video. Until then, I will see you guys later. I hope you have a great day.